Mikhail Bulgakov, The Egyptian Darkness. Where is the rest of the world on my birthday? Where are the electric lights of Moscow? The people? The sky? There is nothing outside the windows. Only darkness. We are cut off from humanity. The nearest kerosene lamps are 9 versts away at the railway station. A tiny light must be flickering there, gasping for breath in the blizzard. At midnight, the express train to Moscow will howl past without stopping. It has no need for a forgotten station buried in the snow. Unless, of course, the tracks are completely drifted over. The first electric lights are 40 versts away in the district town. There, life is sweet. There is a cinema, there are shops. While the wind howls and the snow piles up in the fields, perhaps on the screen, reeds are drifting, palms are swaying, and a tropical island is shimmering. But we are alone. Egyptian darkness, remarked Demian Lukic, the medical assistant, as he lifted the curtain. He speaks solemnly, but very accurately. Is exactly that, Egyptian. I invite you to have another glass, I said. Oh, do not judge us. After all, a doctor, a medical assistant, 2 midwives, we are human too. For months on end, we see no one but hundreds of sick people. We work, we are buried in the snow. Is it really forbidden for us to drink 2 glasses of medicinal spirit and have a snack of district sprats on the doctor's birthday? To your health, doctor, Demian Lukic said with deep feeling. We wish you to get used to us here, said Anna Nikolaevna, clinking glasses and straightening her fancy patterned dress. The second midwife, Pelagia Ivanovna, clinked her glass, took a sip, and immediately crouched down to stir the logs in the stove with a poker. A hot glow flashed across our faces, and the vodka warmed our chests. I simply cannot fathom, I began excitedly, watching the cloud of sparks swirling under the poker, what that woman did with the belladonna. It's a nightmare. Smiles played on the faces of the assistant and the midwives. The matter was this. During the morning clinic today, a rosy-cheeked woman of about 30 squeezed into my office. She bowed to the obstetric chair standing behind me, pulled a wide-necked bottle from her bosom, and began to sing flatteringly. Thank you, citizen doctor, for the drops. They helped so much, so much. Please, give me another bottle. I took the bottle from her hands, glanced at the label, and my vision blurred with shock. On the label, in Demian Lukic's sprawling handwriting, was written, Tinctura Belladonni, and so on. Dated the 16th of December, 1917. In other words, yesterday I had prescribed the woman a substantial portion of belladonna, and today, on my birthday, the 17th of December, she had returned with an empty bottle, asking for more. Did you take it all yesterday? I asked in a wild voice. All of it, dear father, all of it, she sang in a sweet voice. May God grant you health for those drops. Half the bottle when I got home, and half before going to bed. It cleared right up, like a miracle. I leaned against the obstetric chair. How many drops did I tell you to take? I started, my voice choking. I told you 5 drops. What are you doing, woman? You. I swear. I took it, she insisted, thinking I didn't believe her, as if she hadn't actually used my medicine. I took her rosy cheeks in my hands and stared into her pupils. But the pupils were just pupils. Quite beautiful, perfectly normal. Her pulse was also delightful. In short, not a single sign of belladonna poisoning was visible in the woman. This is impossible, I cried out and yelled, Demian Lukic! Demian Lukic, in his white coat, emerged from the pharmacy corridor. Look at this, Demian Lukic. Look what this beauty has done. I don't understand a thing. The woman turned her head fearfully, realizing she had done something wrong. Demian Lukic took possession of the bottle, sniffed it, turned it over in his hands, and said sternly, "You're lying, my dear. You didn't take this medicine yourself. As God is my witness." The woman began. "Don't you try to pull the wool over our eyes," Demian Lukic said harshly, his mouth twisting. "We understand everything perfectly. Confess now, who did you treat with these drops?" The woman raised her normal pupils to the whitewashed ceiling and crossed herself. "May I drop dead if—" "Drop it, drop it," Demian Lukic muttered, then turned to me. "You see, doctor, this is what they do. An actress like this travels to the hospital, gets a prescription, and then she goes back to the village and treats every woman in sight. How can you say that, citizen medical assistant?" "Drop it," the assistant cut her off. "I've been here for 8 years. I know." Of course, she dispensed the whole bottle drop by drop to every house in the village. He continued, speaking to me. "Give me some more of those drops," the woman pleaded sweetly. "Oh no, my dear," I replied, wiping the sweat from my forehead. "You won't be treating yourself with these drops anymore. Is your stomach feeling better?" "Absolutely." "Why?" The pain vanished like a miracle. "Well, that is excellent. I will prescribe you something else, also very good." And I prescribed the woman some valerian, and she left, looking disappointed. It was this very incident we were discussing in my doctor's quarters on my birthday, while outside the windows, the blizzard hung like a heavy curtain of Egyptian darkness. "That's nothing," Demian Lukic said, delicately chewing on a sardine in oil. "That's nothing at all. We're used to it here. For you, dear doctor, after the university in the capital, it will take quite a lot of getting used to. The middle of nowhere. Oh, what a wilderness," Anna Nikolaevna echoed. The blizzard howled somewhere in the chimneys and rustled against the wall. A crimson glow fell upon the dark iron sheet by the stove, a blessing upon the fire that warms the medical staff in the wilderness. "Have you happened to hear about your predecessor, Leopold Leopoldovich?" the assistant asked. He delicately offered a cigarette to Anna Nikolaevna and lit one himself. "He was a remarkable doctor," Pelagia Ivanovna said enthusiastically, staring into the comforting fire with shining eyes. A festive comb with imitation jewels flashed and faded in her black hair. "Yes, a distinguished personality," the assistant confirmed. "The peasants simply adored him. He knew how to handle them. If they had to go under the knife with Lipinty, they went gladly. They called him Lipinty Lipinovich instead of Leopold Leopoldovich. They trusted him, and he knew how to talk to them. Well now, one day, a friend of his, Fyodor the Squint-Eyed from Dulcevo, comes in for an appointment. So it's like this, he says, "Lipiny Lipinovich, my chest is so tight, I can't catch my breath. And besides, it feels like there's a scratching in my throat. Laryngitis," I said mechanically, having already grown accustomed to the lightning-fast village diagnoses during my month of frantic work. "Exactly. Well," says Lipinty, "I'll give you a remedy. You'll be healthy in 2 days. Here are some French mustard plasters. Stick one on your back between the shoulder blades and the other on your chest. Keep them on for 10 minutes, then take them off. Now off you go. Get to it." The man took the plasters and left. 2 days later, he shows up at the clinic. "What's the matter?" Lipiny asks, and the squint-eyed says to him, "Well, Lipiny Lipinovich, your mustard plasters aren't helping at all." "You're lying," Lipiny answers. "French mustard plasters can't fail. You probably didn't put them on." "What do you mean? I didn't put them on," he says. "It's still on right now." And with that, he turns his back, and there's the plaster stuck right onto his sheepskin coat. I burst out laughing, while Pelagia Ivanovna giggled and began poking at a log with the poker with renewed vigor. "Have it your way, but that's just a tall tale," I said. "It simply cannot be." "A tall tale? An anecdote?" the midwives exclaimed in unison. "No," the medical assistant cried out fiercely. "Our whole life here, you see, is made up of such anecdotes. We have things happen here that—" "And the sugar?" Anna Nikolaevna cried. "Tell him about the sugar, Pelagia Ivanovna." Pelagia Ivanovna closed the stove damper and began to speak, looking down shyly. "I arrived in that same Dulcevo to attend a woman in labor. That Dulcevo is a legendary place." The assistant could not help but interject, then added, "Forgive me. Please continue, colleague." "Well, naturally, I performed an examination," continued my colleague, Pelagia Ivanovna, "and I felt something strange with the forceps in the birth canal, something crumbly, some small lumps. It turned out to be refined sugar." "There's your anecdote," Demian Lukic remarked triumphantly. "Wait, I don't understand it all." "The village midwife," Pelagia Ivanovna replied. "A local healer taught them. She said the labor was difficult. The little baby didn't want to come out into the light of God. So they decided they had to lure him out. They were trying to entice him with sweets." "Horrible," I said. "They make the women in labor chew on hair, too," Anna Nikolaevna added. "Whatever for, the devil only knows. 3 times they brought us women in labor like that. The poor woman lies there spitting and gagging. Her whole mouth is full of bristles. There's a superstition that it makes the birth go easier." The midwife's eyes sparkled with memories. We sat by the fire for a long time over tea, and I listened as if spellbound. Stories of how, when they have to transport a woman from the village to our hospital, Pelagia Ivanovna always hitches her sled behind the woman's, just so they won't change their minds on the way and hand the poor soul back to the village midwife. Stories of how they once hung a woman upside down from the ceiling to turn the baby because it was in the wrong position. Stories of a midwife from Korobovo who, having heard that doctors rupture the amniotic sac, used a common kitchen knife to slash the infant's head so badly that even a man as skilled and clever as Lipinty could not save him. Thank God he saved the mother at least. Stories of the stove had long been closed. My guests departed for their wing of the building. I watched for a while as the small window in Anna Nikolaevna's room glowed dimly. Then it went out. Everything vanished. The thickest December evening merged with the blizzard, and a black curtain hid both heaven and earth from me. I paced back and forth in my study. The floorboards creaked under my feet. The Dutch stove radiated warmth, and I could hear a mouse busily gnawing somewhere. No, I thought, I will fight this Egyptian darkness for exactly as long as fate keeps me here in this wilderness. Refined sugar. Imagine that. In the daydreams born under the green shade of my lamp, a great university city appeared. A clinic, a vast hall with tiled floors, gleaming faucets, white sterile sheets, and an assistant with a pointed, very wise, graying beard. A knock at such moments is always unsettling, even frightening. I startled. "Who's there, Aksinya?" I asked, leaning over the banister of the internal staircase. The doctor's quarters were on 2 floors, the study and bedrooms upstairs, the dining room, another room of unknown purpose, and the kitchen downstairs, where Aksinya the cook and her husband, the hospital's permanent watchman, lived. The heavy bolt rattled, the light of a small lamp flickered and swayed below, and a gust of cold air wafted up. Then Axinia reported, "A patient has arrived." Truth be told, I was glad. I didn't feel like sleeping yet, and the sound of the gnawing mouse combined with my memories had made me feel a bit melancholy and lonely. Besides, patient meant a man, which meant the worst was off the table. No deliveries. "Can he walk?" "He can," Axinia replied with a yawn. "Well, let him come up to the study." The staircase creaked for a long time. Someone solid, a man of great weight, was climbing up. By then, I was already seated at my desk, trying my best to prevent my 24-year-old liveliness from bursting out of my professional Aesculapian shell. My right hand rested on my stethoscope as if it were a revolver. A figure in a sheepskin coat and felt boots squeezed through the door. The figure held a cap in its hands. "Why so late, my good man?" I asked solemnly, just for the sake of appearances. "Forgive me, citizen doctor," the figure replied in a pleasant, soft voice. "The blizzard is pure misery. We got delayed. What can you do? Please forgive me." A polite man, I thought with pleasure. I liked the man instantly. Even his thick red beard made a good impression. Apparently, that beard received some care. Its owner had not only trimmed it, but even greased it with some substance that a doctor stationed in the countryside, even for a short time, could easily identify as vegetable oil. "What seems to be the trouble? Take off your coat. Where are you from?" The coat collapsed into a mountain on the chair. "The fever is tormenting me," the patient replied with a mournful look. "Fever? I see. Are you from Dulcevo?" "Correct. I'm the miller." "Well, how does it torment you? Tell me everything." "Every day, exactly at 12 o'clock, my head starts to ache, and then the fever hits. It shakes me for about 2 hours, and then lets go." "Diagnosis ready," rang triumphantly in my head. "And during the other hours, nothing?" "My legs feel weak." "I see. Unbutton your shirt." Yes." By the end of the examination, the patient had charmed me. After the muddled old women and the terrified teenagers who recoiled in horror from a metal tongue depressor, and after that morning business with the belladonna, my university-trained eyes could finally rest on this miller. His speech was sensible. Moreover, he turned out to be literate, and even his every gesture was imbued with respect for science, for medicine, which I consider my favorite pursuit. "Listen, my dear fellow," I said, tapping on his broad, warm chest. "You have malaria? Intermittent fever. I have an entire ward free right now. I strongly advise you to stay here. We'll keep a proper eye on you. I'll start treating you with powders, and if those don't help, we'll give you injections. We'll get results. Well, will you stay?" "I thank you most humbly," the miller replied very politely. "We've heard about you. Everyone is pleased. They say you help so much. I'm even willing to take the injections as long as I get better. No, this is truly a bright ray of light in the darkness." I thought, as I sat down to write at my desk. I felt so pleasant, as if it weren't some stranger of a miller, but my own brother who had come to visit me at the hospital. On one form I wrote, "Chini and I Muritesai 0.5. 10 such doses. Issue in capsules. For Miller Cutoff. 1 powder to be taken at midnight." And I added a flourishing signature. On another slip, I wrote, "Pelagia Ivanovna, please admit the miller to ward number 2. He has malaria. Give him 1 powder of quinine as a standard for hours before the onset of the paroxysm, which means at midnight. Here is your exception, an intelligent miller." Late that night, while already in bed, I received a note from the hands of a somnolent Axinia. "Dear Doctor, Everything has been carried out. Pelagia Lobova. And I fell asleep. And I woke up. What is it? What? What, Aksinya? I muttered. Aksinya stood there, modestly covering herself with her dark skirt patterned with white polka dots. A stearic candle tremulously illuminated her sleepy, anxious face. Marya just ran over. Pelagia Ivanovna said to call you at once. What happened? The miller, she said, is dying in Ward 2. What? Dying? How can he be dying? My bare feet instantly felt the cold floor as I fumbled for my slippers. I broke several matches, poking at the burner until it finally caught with a bluish flame. It was exactly 6 o'clock. What could it be? What is it? Could it really not be malaria? What is wrong with him? His pulse was excellent. Less than 5 minutes later, wearing socks inside out, my jacket unbuttoned, disheveled and in felt boots, I dashed across the courtyard, which was still pitch black, and burst into the second ward. On an unmade bed, beside a crumpled sheet and wearing only hospital linen, sat the miller. He was lit by a small kerosene lamp. His red beard was matted, and his eyes appeared black and enormous. He was swaying like a drunkard. He looked around with terror, breathing heavily. Marya, the nurse, watched his dark crimson face with her mouth agape. Pelagia Ivanovna, her lab coat thrown on crookedly and her hair loose, rushed toward me. Doctor, she cried hoarsely, I swear to you, it's not my fault. Who could have expected it? You wrote it yourself, intelligent. What happened? Pelagia Ivanovna threw up her hands and cried. Imagine, doctor. He swallowed all 10 powders of quinine at once. At midnight, it was a murky winter dawn. Demian Lukic was putting away a gastric tube. The air smelled of camphor oil. A basin on the floor was filled with a brownish liquid. The miller lay there, exhausted and pale, covered to his chin by a white sheet. His red beard poked up like a brush. I leaned over, felt his pulse, and realized that the miller had pulled through. Well, how do you feel? I asked, Egyptian darkness in my eyes. Oh, the miller replied in a weak bass. In mine, too. I answered irritably. The miller croaked. His hearing was still muffled. Just tell me one thing, uncle. Why did you do it? I shouted into his ear, and a gloomy, hostile bass responded. Well, I thought, why mess around with you taking one little powder at a time? I took them all at once, and that's the end of it. It's monstrous, I exclaimed. An anecdote, the medical assistant remarked, as if in a cynical trance. No, I will fight. I will. And a sweet sleep after a difficult night overcame me. The Egyptian darkness stretched out like a veil, and in it I saw myself, holding now a sword, now a stethoscope. I am walking, I am fighting, in the wilderness, but I am not alone. My army follows me. Demian Lukic, Anna Nikolaevna, Pelagia Ivanovna, all in white coats, and all of us forward. Sleep is a wonderful thing.